Good evening. The year 2024 has come to an end, and we are at the beginning of 2025. This year was a political roller coaster. So many ups and downs for the national parties. Well, for the Congress, it was mostly downs. For the BJP, it was mostly ups. It was a fantastic year. So many election results to study, to analyze, to decode, the whole number crunching. Spectacular fun. But if you look at the calendar year of 2024 and look at the trajectory of the BJP and the Congress, the story will be incomplete, for we'll miss out the elections of December 2023. And that is where it all began. Madhya Pradesh, Telangana, Chhattisgarh, and Rajasthan, four heavyweight states going to state elections together. Well, Congress started as favorites. They had won Karnataka, they had won it with a thumping majority, and every opinion poll I recall between September and November 2023 was giving two of the four states to the Congress right away. Congress was expected to win Madhya Pradesh. They were also expected to retain Chhattisgarh. Some opinion polls and some analysts were saying that against the tide, you may not know, but Rajasthan might actually become an exception and Congress might retain it. These were all sorts of theories that were going around because BJP was appearing on the back foot because of Karnataka. What happened then? Madhya Pradesh saw a thrilling political campaign, well, thrilling for the BJP and not so thrilling for the Congress. It started with Jitni Abadi Utna Hak. Rahul Gandhi calling out the caste sensibilities of the majority population. He doesn't talk about the caste of the minority population though. He's going around political rallies, campaigns, streets. Tumhari jati kya hai? Tumhari jati kya hai? But his major objective was to target the OBC voter. Because if you can divide the OBC voter, you're dividing the majority population and thereby consolidating the minority vote, dividing the majority vote, winning the state. And this was Rahul Gandhi's plan. Jitni Abadi Utna Hak. On the other hand, the BJP embarked on a welfare spree. But one disclaimer here. BJP's acquaintance or BJP's tryst with welfare politics is not something that began in October or November 2023. We often forget that BJP in the center has been running a welfare model of politics for over a decade now. You start with the JAM Trinity, the DBTs, the array of programs that are meant to ensure socioeconomic inclusion for 100 crore people. They all are a part of the welfare politics. They are intended to target a certain section of the beneficiaries. They are intended to have a second and third order network effect. So it's not like the BJP was trying this out for the first time in desperation or because of Karnataka. So the people who attribute the December 2023 elections to some sort of a new welfare model of the BJP are a little incorrect. Nevertheless, the Ladli Behan Yojana proved to be a game changer. But the Ladli Behan Yojana is not about what is being done for the women voters. The women voters have been playing a critical role in state and central elections for 10 years now. What was important was that at the state level, these schemes get that voters' thrust because of the credibility of the last 10 years. Think about this. Congress offers the same or similar welfare politics and policies to the voters when they go out to campaign. Rahul Gandhi has spoken about an annual grant, an annual cash transfer for the voters as early as 2019. He was talking about it again in 2024. You saw all the TV advertisements, everything. But did the voters buy into it? They did not. Why? Because there's the question of credibility. People look at the Congress, their promises ahead of the elections, and they desire more credibility, which they do not get. You look at what happened in Karnataka. 3 or 4 months after winning the state assembly, they were having problems implementing the own schemes they had guaranteed. The free bus rides were coming back to haunt them. And this is the problem with the Congress. They have the promises, but they lack the intent and they lack that credibility amongst the voters. Whereas when people look at the BJP at the state level, they look at the credibility of the Prime Minister who's been delivering for the last 10 years and they trust the BJP to deliver again at the state level too. And this is what happened in Madhya Pradesh. Chhattisgarh was another story. Chhattisgarh was actually unexpected win for the BJP. I recall on the election day, on the counting day, until 11:30, no one was giving BJP a chance. Yet seat by seat, they sort of took the lead, and everyone was shocked because no opinion poll, no exit poll gave Chhattisgarh to the BJP. In Rajasthan, as was the norm, the swing state came to the BJP, but the exception was also Madhya Pradesh. Their voting percentage, their vote share rather, went from 41% to 48%, a jump of almost 8 percentage point. Congress, meanwhile, retained their vote share, but their seats came down by almost 50. BJP increased its seat tally by 50. So, what was really happening? In Madhya Pradesh, all the smaller parties, all the independents, all their vote share rallied behind the BJP. This was the Modi and the Mamaji factor, the credibility of the center, the impact of Shivraj Singh Chauhan. And this is how, in December 2023, a turnaround was registered by the BJP. Now compare this with 2018. BJP lost Madhya Pradesh, they lost Chhattisgarh, they lost Rajasthan, and everyone was trying to write off Prime Minister Narendra Modi ahead of the Lok Sabha elections of 2019. They were proven to be wrong. In 2023, when BJP swept Madhya Pradesh, they won Chhattisgarh, they won Rajasthan, and Congress managed a victory in Telangana, everyone was writing off Rahul Gandhi again. They were happy about the Congress's performance in Telangana, but it had more to do with Revant Reddy than Rahul Gandhi. But in the Hindi heartland states, it was all about the Prime Minister and who were going to follow him as the chief ministers of these three respective states. And this is where the turnout was, and the turnaround rather, was significantly important. Now, after the December turnaround, it was time for celebration. It was time for the Ram Mandir consecration ceremony. The year 2024 began with the Ram Mandir consecration ceremony on January 22nd. And what stood out was that the BJP's rallying behind the Ram Janmabhoomi movement cause for almost 3 decades really paid off. The people knew that which party had stood behind the cause for 30 years and which parties had distanced themselves, including the Congress. The Prime Minister was leading the way in Ayodhya amongst an array of dignitaries from all walks of life. The RSS was involved in the distribution of the Akshat ceremony to more than 25 crore households. I recall in January, when the Akshat started coming to a lot of households, people started to have FOMO, what this generation calls FOMO, which is fear of missing out, that why aren't we getting it? But eventually, everyone did get it. And this was probably the way of ensuring that the celebration was inclusive. It was culturally inclusive for people who couldn't physically be present in Ayodhya. And that is what really moved people. It was surreal. It was almost like Diwali on that day. People celebrating the holiday, lighting up diyas, doing pujas at their households. It was beautiful. But one party stood out. It was the Congress. Somehow, declining the invitation for the consecration ceremony, Sonia Gandhi's Congress released a statement saying that the Ram Mandir is an RSS BJP project. It's being politicized ahead of the Lok Sabha elections. Well, look, Congress has not rallied behind the cause of the Ram Janmabhoomi movement. That's no surprise. Congress, in fact, was the party that gave us the Places of Worship Act after the disputed structure went down in Ayodhya. Nevertheless, Congress saying that this is a BJP project, this is an RSS project, this is PM Modi politicizing the entire thing, that did not go down well with the voters. Even amongst the Congress loyalists, even amongst the Congress MPs and MLAs, there was this underlying sentiment that the Congress leadership should be present at the consecration ceremony. But Congress, discarding that sentiment, was more focused on consolidating the vote bank that may be impacted if the leadership was present at the consecration ceremony. So, learning no lessons from December, first where they were practicing the caste divide, that jitni abadi utna haq, in January they went on to decline the invitation to the consecration ceremony. That is how the Congress really operates, unable to read the room. But Nitish Kumar was able to read the room. He was able to sense what the mood of the nation was. His Indie Alliance experiment had failed. He had seen the bickering between the regional parties in December 2023. He had seen the entire Congress bickering around the consecration ceremony, and he wasn't going to waste his time. And therefore, he made another turn from the India Alliance back to the NDA fold, and that was pretty much the end of the prospects of the India Alliance ahead of 24. Not that they were very hopeful before, but the departure of Nitish Kumar really put the entire thing in hyperdrive. There is another aspect to it. Perhaps some say that Nitish Kumar was unhappy when Arvind Kejriwal and Mamta Banerjee of the TMC, both parties a part of the India Alliance, suggested Mallikarjun Kharge's name for the prime ministerial post from the India Alliance. Now, two things one doesn't really understand. How, in which universe was Mallikarjun Kharge a contender against Prime Minister Narendra Modi? Or was Kharge being made a poster boy for an inevitable defeat in Lok Sabha elections 2024? Well, we can just speculate. But Nitish Kumar, clearly unhappy, clearly hoping to be the prime ministerial face of the India Alliance, walked out. And probably that was the correct decision because he retained his chief ministerialship. Bihar voted overwhelmingly for the NDA during the Lok Sabha elections. And overall, the nation was also with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, the defeats of December 2023, the departure of Nitish Kumar, and the wonderful sentiment that was built around the consecration ceremony meant that the Congress had lost all its momentum they had gained after the Karnataka victory. So, what happened next? These were the divisive agendas of the Congress that started coming to light, and they were rather worrying. One of the most dangerous agendas that came from the opposition was that around tax devolution. Suddenly, the chief ministers of Karnataka, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu were in a protesting march, saying that the tax collected from these states should be distributed proportionally to these states, that my tax is my money and therefore my right. To put simply, their claim was that the money from the South Indian states is being distributed in the Hindi belt states because center favors these states more because of the presence of the BJP there. Well, this was an absurd allegation to make, but one that could have furthered the north-south divide within the country. Well, look, we are a plug-and-play economy. The development of Tamil Nadu is development of 140 crore citizens. The development of Gujarat or Arunachal or Kashmir or Ladakh or any state, any union territory is the development of 140 crore people. But the Congress was running a completely different agenda. For those who don't know, tax devolution is not something that the center arbitrarily decides. It's decided by the Finance Commission. It's based on an array of factors which includes population, which includes area of the states, the forest and ecology, it includes the demography, it also includes the effort made by the state governments towards taxation, but most importantly, it also factors in the income disparity within the states, which is the per capita income of a state and its distance from the state with the highest per capita. So, in this case, the devolution was decided to ensure that states which probably do not have the most favorable geography or which are still developing compared to the developed states of, say, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, they stand to benefit. And that is what exactly happened. The new tax devolution structure has helped states like Nagaland, Arunachal, Meghalaya, Manipur, even Punjab for that matter. But somehow the opposition was running a completely different agenda. Rahul Gandhi, I recall, was doing his Bharat Nyaya Yatra and he was going in the northeast and saying, look, your state can't be controlled from Delhi, your resources belong to you. This was the divisive agenda being run by the Congress. But that wasn't it. There was also the question of electoral bonds that started coming to light. Well, for those who don't really follow this, electoral bonds was very, very straightforward. Company which wants to donate to a political party gets itself verified, the entire KYC process as you know it, and they can transfer, or rather they can buy the bonds, which enables the transfer, the transaction between the parties and the individuals or enterprises. It was a transaction that was completely invite, for it couldn't happen without the KYC process. But the Congress, complaining that this is somehow an unfair field, went to the courts. They did. One thing led to another. The electoral bond list came out. People were speculating that probably the top corporates of India are rather donating to the BJP. There's some sort of quid pro quo. There's some sort of a give and take. Nothing was ever proven. So much noise around electoral bonds, and yet nothing against the BJP was ever proven. Nothing against any corporate group was ever proven. Yet the Congress's agenda continued. We also had the second wave of farmer protest ahead of the Lok Sabha elections. Farmers from Punjab making their way to Delhi through Haryana, though they were stopped at the Haryana borders. And again, that also made a lot of headlines because everyone thought probably that the whole Singhu protest was now a license for the farmers to come and crowd around Delhi, but the government was having none of it. Even the Haryana state government under the BJP was having none of it. Though the farmers' demands were quite absurd, they now wanted a legal guarantee for MSP. They even wanted a pension for the farmers. They wanted 200 guaranteed days of Manrega jobs and whatnot. But one thing everyone was now understanding, that the farmer protest wasn't really what it seemed in the beginning. People were now asking the difficult questions, that why across all states it's the Punjab farmers that are protesting. This was another failure of a very divisive agenda of the Congress against Prime Minister Narendra Modi, against the BJP, and people will see through it. Think about this. Haryana has farmers, a lot of farmers. They have never, appeared in protest to discuss such problems. You have Himachal, a hub for horticulture, never such problems. Jammu, leading a lavender revolution, no such problems. Uttarakhand, Kashmir, even Ladakh for that matter. Why is it that farmers from one state are always engaged in protest? And this was a question people were asking. This is what really defeated the protest in the beginning. This is what really eliminated the momentum that was probably there in 2020-21, because people now understood the stark reality behind these protests, and that was another agenda coming apart. And finally, the Bharat Jodo Nyaya Yatra. Rahul Gandhi, probably too hopeful about his prospects, was going across states talking about how he wants to change India, how the constitution is in danger, the same rhetoric, the whole caste rhetoric, Jati Janganna as he calls it. But people also started to understand that there was no merit to his arguments. Imagine standing in a campaign rally asking the journalist, "Tumhare malik ki jati kya hai?" How are people of 21st century India, of people of 2024 India, expected to vote on this behalf? And that is also was the failure of another agenda by the Congress against the Prime Minister. All said and done, the Lok Sabha elections were upon us, and they were a very elaborate election, over 95 crore voters for the first time, the largest election for any country. So what were the big factors? The one big factor was India Alliance. I recall a lot of journalists, a lot of analysts were hoping for a 1977-like coalition to defeat the Prime Minister, that all the smaller parties, all the regional parties must come together, put their differences aside, and create a 1977-like alliance in which Indira Gandhi was defeated to defeat Prime Minister Narendra Modi. They all were spectacularly optimistic and also wrong. The parties, except in a couple of states, were unable to ward off their differences. You look at TMC and Congress in Bengal. TMC put out the list of their 42 candidates in one go. They did not wait. Akhilesh Yadav, however, was far more accommodating. In Delhi, the Aam Aadmi Party and Congress decided to come together on the 7 seats, but in Punjab, they refused to see eye to eye. So it was a very mixed bag of alliance, and what they were selling was a common minimum program for a country that has grown acquainted, that is enjoying the welfare model, that is enjoying the industrial model, a mix of both. To say that what we have for you is a common minimum program sounded a little incorrect. On the other hand, there was also Rahul Gandhi, who was unable to make up his mind that should he be fighting from Wayanad, should he be fighting from Rai Bareli, should he be fighting from Amethi, because Rahul Gandhi, as it turns out, requires 2 seats, one where he can win and one probably as an insurance, who knows. Amethi, on the other hand, was reserved for a family loyalist, one who was known in the area. But even then, it's remarkable to note that Rahul Gandhi wasn't willing to take on Smriti Irani from Amethi. This was the sentiment before the Lok Sabha elections. The Congress in their head was already defeated. And then came the manifesto wars. Congress's and BJP's manifesto was as different as their economic ideologies are. One was talking about redistribution of wealth, not in the exact words, but rather indirectly, and somewhat of it was even confirmed by their aspiring MPs on social media. BJP, on the other hand, was talking about a very clear, very decisive model of development, one that combined the best of welfare, one that combined the best of economic growth. Congress manifesto was talking about the entire equity part. Their focus was that there is somehow a lot of inequality in this country, as if the license Raj was delivering some sort of an imaginary communism. But their idea was that equity is a problem. We want to craft policies that ensure equitable distribution of wealth. And this is where the entire debate on Mangal Sutra began. The Prime Minister did not hold back his horses. He was talking about the Congress wanting to steal the Mangal Sutras, to put it metaphorically, of the poor women. He wasn't wrong. He wasn't entirely off the mark. What does wealth distribution in Congress's dictionary mean? We still don't know. To simply say that, oh, look, there is an equity problem, we are going to solve it by crafting new policies, there is going to be some sort of an affirmative action, it leaves a lot of room for ambiguity. And more importantly, it leaves a lot of room for misinterpretation. And I have to recall the first Prime Minister of India, Nehru, who said if there is constitution gets in the way of our policies, we have to probably deal with the constitution in a manner as well, in the right manner as well. So one doesn't really know what Congress really meant by affirmative action, which was mentioned there, or their idea of equity. But the Prime Minister saw through it, and he addressed it in a lot of election rallies following the first and the second phase. But the bigger problem came in the form of a modified video, an AI generated video of the Home Minister Amit Shah. Congress or Congress's ecosystem of people who were non BJP, however you want to define it, it's rather difficult to put a single mark. They were sharing a modified video, a fabricated video of the Home Minister, where they claimed he was saying that reservations will be abolished if the BJP wins the election. And thereby, a hysteria was given birth that BJP wants to win a majority, change the constitution, do away with the reservations, which was rather hypocritical of the Congress. It was the BJP that gave OBC Commission its rightful place. It was the BJP that went on an inclusive model of development. Look at the last 10 years. SCs, STs, OBCs, the entire population has been always, clearly defined within caste. But it was the BJP which clearly said, we are looking at 4 categories alone. We are looking at the farmers, we are looking at women, we are looking at the youth, we are looking at the women voters. They were very clear. We're looking at these 4 categories. We're not interested in breaking them into castes. They were quite clear. But the Congress was on a different agenda. In UP, these videos were circulated, recirculated, even in Maharashtra for that matter, in Bihar. But the problem here was that in era of social media, once something is communicated, it's rather difficult to get it back. Once a misinformation piece is peddled out to the internet, it's up for consumption, it's up for grabs. And that is what happened with that doctored video of Amit Shah, where it was falsely attributed that he's claiming that the BJP will do away with reservation. Believe it or not, that was one of the lowest points of India's polity this year. Because if now our parties are going to be irresponsible with artificial intelligence, even if they want to get creative, I recall there were some videos going around of Arvind Kejriwal talking to a stalwart of the past, and it's an AI generated video. Now, the problem is when you start getting creative with AI, there's a lot of room for its misuse, and that is what exactly happened. And this is where one of the future policies must deal with this menace as well. And then came the Lok Sabha elections. Look, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was expected to come back. He was expected to continue. But a lot of people missed the magnitude of the victory. Many thought 240 is an opportunity to perhaps target the BJP, target the Prime Minister. What many missed was that this Prime Minister had won a 3rd consecutive Lok Sabha elections, being the first in over 60 years, and he had won this election at a time when heads of states across the world were losing their election. Donald Trump lost in 2020. A lot of other leaders in other democracies lost their elections between 2020 and 2023. And yet, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had won another election. The Congress was in a jubilant mood, thinking that 99 is perhaps 299 or 399. They forgot that the combined tally from 2014, 2019, and 2024 was less than what BJP had secured in 2024 alone. But there was one important question to be asked, which no one did on the result day. When was the last time Congress secured more than 240 seats in the Lok Sabha? It wasn't 1991 because it was a split election. There was a state that went to election a year later. So BJP had 240 in 2024, but Congress had more than 240 last in 1984. That election was fought after the death of Indira Gandhi, so there was a certain dynamic to it. But Congress, yet unable to secure 240 seats, unable to secure a Lok Sabha majority in over 4 decades, had the audacity to tell the Prime Minister, look, you do not have the right to govern. You do not have the mandate of the people. How wrong they were. In certain states, the BJP did fare rather poorly, one would say, or rather below average, one would say. But in other states, BJP was sweeping. Madhya Pradesh was a sweep. Odisha was a surprise sweep, both at the state level and the national level. Sikkim, Arunachal, Andhra Pradesh, where the NDA registered another win, was another success story in the BJP Lok Sabha story. There was Rajasthan, where there was a few losses, but then there was Madhya Pradesh, there was Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, there was Karnataka, there was Bihar. So a lot of success for the BJP across India, and yet the Congress was unable to decipher what the magnitude of this win was. It did not stop there. Some people said, oh, look, this is the end of Labharthi story. People do not believe BJP's welfare model anymore. People do not believe the Prime Minister anymore. There was a problem in that analysis. Narendra Modi's welfare model had now captured Odisha's imagination. I was there myself in 2021, and people I was talking to were speaking about the Jal Jeevan mission. And it was rather interesting because the state government there had branded the Jal Jeevan mission as one of their own programs, and people could figure out the difference. People knew that if there is a piped water connection in their house, it's coming from the center, it's coming from the Prime Minister. So there was this excitement with respect to the Prime Minister that reflected in the results of 2024. And yet somehow everyone thought that the Labharthi story was over. That was a grossly incorrect interpretation. The cabinet formation, I still remember the kind of absurd rumors that were doing the rounds on June 4th. Some were saying that we might have a deputy prime minister. Some said that the TDP will want a lion's share of the cabinet berths, and so will the JDU. Nothing like that. The prime minister promised a majority government. He delivered a majority government. The prime minister promised a stable government. He delivered stability. He promised continuity, and the cabinet indicated that continuity. The finance minister stayed, the foreign minister stayed, the home minister stayed, the defense minister stayed. Nothing out of the blue, no surprises there. And this was the hallmark of an NDA alliance of the BJP that believed in ensuring good governance. There was also Rahul Gandhi, who was utterly joyous after 99. Somehow, the first candidate I have seen who's happy in the nervous 90s, but his utterances were what really took down the Congress in hindsight. Rahul Gandhi, speaking from the floor of the parliament, challenged the BJP, challenged the Prime Minister that we are going to defeat you in Gujarat in 2027. Probably in his head, he was expecting that Haryana would be a Congress sweep. Haryana will also pave way for a Maharashtra sweep for the Congress, but Rahul Gandhi was wrong. Nevertheless, on 4th June, the BJP did manage a spectacular win. We should not be focusing much on what Congress really was looking to gain, what the larger perception was. The perception is a lot of subjective stuff. It depends on where you're setting the target. The important thing here is it was a third term NDA government, it was a third term BJP government, it was a third term for Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and now everyone is looking forward to the Haryana elections. Now, before I talk about Haryana election results, I must tell you a story. Around 9:30, 9:35 on the counting day, Congress was at 50 odd seats, BJP was trailing at 30 odd seats. The jalebis had started on the Congress headquarters, and then suddenly the tables turned. Around 9:40, 9:45, everyone is looking at their TV screens, everyone streaming, everyone analyzing the result, and suddenly everyone is saying, hey, look, how is the BJP now in the early 40s? Can they get to the majority? Does 40 of the 90 seats mean a BJP government? And before anyone knew, it had increased to 50 and Congress was in the below 30s. So suddenly, within 25 minutes, the entire election had turned. But what really happened? Just a week ago, I was in Haryana. I was going around talking to a lot of people, especially young people, just trying to gauge what really went wrong for the Congress on October 8th. And all they told me was that they are not going to vote for Rahul Gandhi. Now, this is the people talking. The people have already delivered more than 80 defeats to Rahul Gandhi across the country, across elections. So when they say that they do not see a leader in Rahul Gandhi, one doesn't really get surprised now. They were also unhappy about his utterances in the Ram Mandir. The entire aftermath of the Lok Sabha election meant that a lot of social media influencers, a lot of Congress loyalists, a lot of India Alliance people, they were mocking the Ram Mandir. That, look, you built a Ram Mandir in Ayodhya, you lost Faizabad. What's the point? You built the Ram Mandir and Hindus are not voting for you. These were very careless utterances from the Congress camp. And yet no one was indulging in course correction that was severely, urgently needed at that point. And that is what the people told me. Dipender Hooda also did not do himself any favor by aligning strongly with Rahul Gandhi. That whole march of Vinesh Fogart actually resulted in Vinesh Fogart winning her seat by barely 5,000 votes. And here's the interesting part. In the seat where Vinesh Fogart was contesting, BJP historically hasn't done well. Their vote share has actually not even got into double digits before 2024. But this was the first time their vote share was not only in double digits, they came close to winning margin. So all that talk about Vinesh Fogart's election, she for a chief ministerial candidate, whatnot, it all was just speculation. It was all just a perception battle. There was also the talk of corruption, that how BJP has ensured that corruption is no longer a problem the state of Haryana has to deal with. One thing I was quite shocked when the opinion polls, the exit polls, gave Congress a victory coming from the region. I was quite surprised by how people are not acknowledging the infrastructure that has come to Haryana. You look at the peripheral road, you look at the tunnel to Dwarka, bypassing the entire Delhi. You look at the dedicated freight corridor, you look at the upgradation of highways, a lot of things. I was quite taken aback that how are people not voting on infrastructure? And that surprise was addressed on the election result day when actually the overwhelming mandate was for the BJP. Now, BJP also created a record third consecutive win in Haryana, another fortress perhaps in the making. The Hoodas, one cannot be certain what their political future looks like. Kumari Shelja, her political future looks uncertain, even though she's within the CWC. So a lot of questions were going around, but Haryana gave the BJP the encouragement they were looking for. The Prime Minister, of course, was delivering on welfare. He was delivering on the entire model of economic growth. And that is what Haryana was also voting for. You look at the GT road, for instance, there was a lot of talk about farmers, protest, how BJP has been unfair to the lower income groups. Entire GT road overwhelmingly voted for the BJP. They were not voting for disruption. As much as marches and protesting sites make for good television, they really not make for good numbers on voting day for the party that backs those protests. And that is the harsh lesson Congress learned that day. And this was the redemption, this was the validation, however you want to define it, for the Labarthi model that some had chosen to write the obituary of in June 2024. This was the validation for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership. The people of Haryana were with the new Chief Minister Nayab Singh Saini, and they were with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Unfortunately for Rahul Gandhi, his jalebi jokes did not land well. It in fact landed him in more trouble. There were some speculations on the result day that, look, this is not about Congress versus BJP. There were 14 seats where the independents contested, and therefore the first past the post system is unfair, and BJP won. I had already broken down that analysis on my Twitter timeline, where I described that most of the seats that were confused as winnings of the BJP purely because of independence were actually always a three-way or a four-way contest. And Aam Aadmi Party and Congress were also expected to be in an alliance, but Aam Aadmi Party also wouldn't have helped Congress's fortunes, because in any of the 90 seats, none of the 90 seats, they stood on the second place. They were either third or more. So it's not about the independents. It was genuinely about the Congress not doing well, not understanding what the voter really wants. Now let's talk about Maharashtra. But before we talk about Maharashtra, we must speak of Dhule Lok Sabha constituency. And this is where the Maharashtra campaign, one can say, was born. In Dhule Lok Sabha in 2024, BJP won 5 of the 6 assembly constituencies. Nothing uncommon there. But in the 6th assembly constituency, for every 1 vote to the BJP, 44 votes went to the Congress. There was clearly a vote bank that was voting to the Congress overwhelmingly, but then it was enough. That consolidation of the minority vote was enough to upset the BJP win in 5 assembly constituencies, and thereby BJP lost that Lok Sabha seats. And this is where the Prime Minister's speech, "Ek hai to safe hai," really resonated with the voters. There was the entire welfare politics that was playing its role on the state level. And again, it's the question of credibility. The Congress was promising a lot of things, but people were looking at the more credible alliance. They were looking at the more credible choice on the election day. And that is how the NDA was always poll favorite to start. But ek hai to safe hai. This is the pitch that resonated with the voters. People were studying the numbers. People were understanding what happened in Dhule. With 230 seats to the NDA, to the Mahayuti, the Lok Sabha losses were reversed. This was again a validation For Prime Minister Narendra Modi, it was a validation. For now Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis, for Eknath Shinde. And this was important because people were now saying that, look, we are looking at what's going on in Karnataka. We have seen what's going on in Himachal in the name of Khatakhat model, as Rahul Gandhi famously called it. We are not going to fall for it again. We are not going to let our state become fiscally irresponsible, because Congress had not done itself any favors by the occurrences, by the entire news that was coming out of Karnataka and Himachal. And that is how Maharashtra became very, very important. Unfortunately, though, the north-south divide that started in the beginning of the year was again attempted in this state of Maharashtra by saying a Gujarat-Maharashtra divide. That, look, the projects have gone there, the infrastructure is only focused there, the resources, the jobs, everything is being diverted there. This was another attempt by the Congress to run a divisive agenda against Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Unfortunately, it fell flat. The NCP and the Shiv Sena, they delivered results. They delivered that entire strength to the alliance along with BJP's 130, and they also reversed the losses they suffered in the Lok Sabha. And finally, Congress's caste census pitch again failed. I recall after the Lok Sabha elections and before the Haryana elections, they were all about Jati Janganna is desh ka bhavishya hai, hum kranti layenge, hum ye karenge, hum wo karenge. Haryana and Maharashtra answered Rahul Gandhi. But that ek hai to safe hai really woke up people to the reality of minority vote consolidation and majority vote division. So it started with Jitni Abadi Utna Hak in December 2023. It went to tax devolution, another divisive agenda. You look at the farmers' protest, you look at what was being said in Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra, you look at the whole caste census pitch, affirmative action, equity. All of this culminated in one simple thing in Maharashtra, that voters finally understood that you want to consolidate the minority as you did in Thule, but you also want to divide the majority. Therefore, one is now asking this important question. Why is Rahul Gandhi always talking about caste census in the majority population alone? Why is he not talking about a caste census in the second largest majority in this country? So these were questions that were going around, and this is all what culminated into a 230 odd standing for the NDA, for the Mahayuti. And that is where the Congress had its last downfall in the year 2024. It started with some hope in Karnataka in 2023, but beyond Jharkhand, beyond Telangana, and beyond the 99 seats they couldn't stop ranting about, Congress has absolutely delivered nothing. Nothing is working for Rahul Gandhi. And every agenda against the Prime Minister, led by every party, be it the sharing of the fake videos, be it the caste census, be it the end of Bharatiya model, as many like to claim in June 2024, it all fell flat. The BJP, meanwhile, delivered on the CAA. They have put their proposal forward for one nation, one election. The Waqf bill is now in public. It's being deliberated upon. So the BJP was going on full Monty. They were pretty much in form after the Lok Sabha elections. They have secured 240, but they have retained their position within the government. They have retained their position within the Lok Sabha. Their stature they have retained. The Prime Minister continues to deliver. Rahul Gandhi, meanwhile, continues to struggle. Finally, what does the year 2024 tell us? Number one, Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the history of Indian polity has to be the most popular leader ever. We are talking also not about the volume of elections, but the scale of elections, the number of electors, the number of votes being polled. So there is no debate in this that Prime Minister Narendra Modi, even after running the government for over 10 years, continues to be the most popular leader going into the 2029 elections. Number two, people are now gradually moving towards economic growth as the deciding factor on election day and not caste. For all the caste Rahul Gandhi has been ranting about for the last year, people have not given him the results he was desiring. One can say Telangana, but that has more to do with the BRS's failure and the state dynamics under Revant Reddy. If you want to talk Jharkhand, Congress is a second fiddle, a distant second fiddle, and it has more to do with where the tribal vote is going. So there are no takers for Rahul Gandhi's caste politics as well. The electoral victories for the BJP in Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, Haryana, Odisha, they all are indicating towards one thing, that the BJP is now looking to create electoral fortresses across India after Gujarat. I have no doubts in saying that the kind of performance Congress has delivered in Himachal is another BJP fortress in the making. in the years to come in 2027. So BJP is now not only looking at winning elections, it's also looking at consolidating its power and delivering a government that does well on stability, continuity. Continuity is very important. You saw all what happened in Maharashtra. Uddhav Thackeray takes over as the chief minister, infrastructure projects get halted. Karnataka, Sidramaya takes over as the chief minister. There is some sort of a delay and inevitable chaos that comes with governance model. So there are people who are now sensing the importance of stability, continuity, and good governance. And this is where their trust in the BJP counts. This is where the credibility factor on welfare politics also comes in. Number 4, Rahul Gandhi's idea of helicopter money, of cash transfers, also has no resonance with the voters. But Prime Minister Narendra Modi's ideas on welfare is finding an audience even amongst the younger population. That's about it. This is the year 2024. But now going into 2025, a lot of things to look forward to. You start with the Delhi election. There is the Bihar election. You're talking about one nation, one election. Will that be possible or not? You're talking about Waqf. You're talking about census, probably how delimitation moves forward. There's a lot of things on the policy front that will evolve in 2025. But one thing is certain. The Congress is not going to have it easy. Rahul Gandhi really needs to reinvent his game, which of course he wouldn't. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi looks good. He's going strong. His third term is off to a spectacular start.